Hello everyone, welcome live to picksfromthepaddock.co.uk. I've got myself, Rory Paddock. I have a special guest, Christopher Connolly, also on the show. It is currently 11:02 AM. I've got the papers, and it's time for Saturday's selections. Hello everyone, it is Saturday morning. We've got a lot of racing ahead of us. I've got the papers. Obviously we've got the likes of Starform, who pinpoint a dash, they say a dash for cash. Dominic Ellsworth's Charge, Dash of Spice is their selection in the November Handicap at Donny. They also mention the fact that kind of went under the radar a little bit that Oisin Murphy was crowned flat champion jockey. I have no idea why they don't want too much Oisin Murphy press at the moment. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. Also, we've got the trade paper, the Racing Post. Looking at both sides of the pond, obviously, it was the Breeders' Cup started last night over in Keeneland. Our pundit, Dean Kilbryde, was able to back a couple of winners there. Obviously, the preview, all the ITV action on ITV4 comes from Doncaster and Wincanton. You turn the front page and they like the look of Bryony Frost's mount at Wincanton. The name of it escapes me in the Badgers Ales. They've also gone, you've got your ITV guide there. But without further ado, it is not just me. It is that man from Yorkshire. It is Christopher Connolly. How are you doing, buddy?
Not bad.
Obviously, we've got a fair bit of action to get through. We're looking at the main races on ITV this afternoon. And we both kind of set each other a bit of a challenge to pick 3 horses today, away from the sort of main racing that we think could have a decent chance. So, without further ado, decent race in your neck of the woods up in Yorkshire at Donny. Their big race of the day, the 3:15 November Handicap, looks a bit of a tough one. Looking through the race, you've got On to Victory, who's produced some decent performances without winning of late, but their form here at Donny is pretty poor. The one that I think, if you're looking for the most likely winner, personally, I'd say is Sam Cook, but horse being handled with kid gloves. I think in a race like this, personally, I've got to look for a horse with a bit of value, despite the fact that Rafe Beckett's Charge, is they're in fine form, fine fettle at the moment. I think perhaps a little bit too short for me. Course and distance winner, you've got Tulip Fields for the Mark Johnston Yard. Deserves respect. She's gone at £4 for that course and distance win earlier in the month. But gets an allowance. I'm actually going to go with a horse who finished 2 lengths behind Tulip Fields last time out here at Doncaster. And that is, as Star Sports have gone, Starform even, it is a Dash of Spice. Was only 2 lengths behind that day. And was a tad unlucky in running, met traffic problems last time. Not saying that the horse would have been able to reverse form that day, but certainly would have finished a lot closer. Decent handicap mark, a decent drawing stall 3, Dash of Spice at a decent each way price. That's the one for me. Your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, I'm quite interested in Dash of Spice himself for David Ellsworth. He's had a down season, to be in all honesty.
Yeah, it's a bit lacklustre.
No consistency all season, and some of his better horses have run really poorly. But this horse at least hinted at retaining a fair amount of its former ability. Missed last season, but had a profitable 2018 campaign, and I can see Dash of Spice running a really nice race. I mean, it's very difficult to discount the chances of Uke and Glen. But looking at the weight, 9 stone 10, and
I know it's astronomical, isn't it? Seems too much of an ask.
Course and distance winner. The only theoretically speaking, this would be seen as a drop in grade. He's won a couple of group races, and I wouldn't dismiss him out of hand. I just think, how many times can you go to the well? His latest win will be off-putting for me because it was on fairly desperate ground. Even though he did it nicely enough, you just wonder if that would have left its mark. So it's a boring route for me to go, but I think Sam Cook is probably being held back for this race. Very lightly raced for a 4-year-old, I think he is now. 8 stone 10, Ralph Beckett's in good form, and he will definitely go on the ground. The concern is obviously you wonder how fragile this horse is, but this has probably been the target, and I think he's around 6-1 as things stand. He's had a little bit of a drip. He'd be my idea of the winner.
Yeah, I mean, I can't put anyone off Sam Cook. He's not really done much wrong in his career. He's pretty lightly raced. I think what put me off when I was looking through the race was how heavily it had been backed in terms of, I think it was down as short as 5-1. I think at 6-1 as an each way price, I think that's not too bad at all. I agree with you with Yukon Glen. I think something you've mentioned to me many a time is the importance of course form here at Donny as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, of all the tracks around the country, the northern tracks, especially Catterick or Doncaster or Redcar, places where horses tend to repeat offences. So if they win there, that's what I call them anyway. Repeat offenders are just easy to think of. And course form at Doncaster, especially when the mud is flying, you really need to be respecting course form. So much so around here anyway.
Yeah. Again, I couldn't put you off Sam Cook. Can't set anyone off Sam Cook. Decent chance. But no, I think I've just gone for Dash of Spice more as a punter, looking at it really for a bit of each way value. The main race of the day on ITV4 this afternoon is the Badger Ales, I think it's now called. Oh God, what's it called now? It's
the Badger Ales.
It is the Badger Ales. Oh, I'm trying to think of the name of the sponsor now. It's something Silver Trophy anyway. But anyway, it's the 3:35. It's Wincanton. Paul Nicholls has a fantastic record in it. Has a fantastic record at this course actually, especially on this day at Wincanton. I think we've put some sort of stat attack on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you check that out. Thanks to Dean Kilbryde for doing that. He's got perhaps the three main protagonists in this race, Nicholls. And I like the sort of what was perceived to be the outsider of the three. I know you're on the same horse and it's My Way. Yeah. I'll let you lead with this. Any particular reason?
It's a brutal race, isn't it? I mean, obviously Paul Nicholls got a fantastic record in this, and initially coming into the season, I suspected that Present Man would be back attempting to win the race for a third time. Fantastic jumper, great relationship with Bridie Frost, and he's built for this sort of course. He likes to go from the front or be prominent, and all along this was, in my mind, the plan for Nicholls to win this race with him for a third time, but he went and won a Veterans Chase last time, which came out of left field for me. I thought it would be a run to get him straight, but he battled all. It was actually a fantastic race to watch, but it's pushed him to a mark that I think will prove too much for him, and these types of marks have proved too much for him before. I mean, he's actually quite lightly raced for a 10-year-old, and if he gets an easy lead around here, you wouldn't want to dismiss him, but I just think picking up the extra few pounds for winning a Veterans Chase will make this very difficult. There are some unexposed types in this race from the very same yard, and whilst I would be respectful of Danny Whizbang, it's a confusing challenge for me. I wondered if they might attempt to go the Hennessy route. I'm not sure you'd want to be winning races around here and picking up any sort of hefty penalty to back up in the Hennessy. So I went with My Way. He's actually never won a race over Fenton, which is a little bit concerning, but he was a comfortable winner over hurdles last time. He jumped by in the main, and you have to think he's got mileage off his current rating. I mean, he's going to be running around with 10 stone 6. And if he can just slot in behind, he surely should be good enough to be fighting that for at least a place. But it is a very hot race.
Yeah, exactly. Present Man was the name of the horse I couldn't think of before in the intro. But yeah, it's interesting that the 10-year-old is so lightly raced. It seems like he's been around for absolute donkey's years. I'm with you with Danny Whizbang. I'd be surprised if this was its seasonal target by any stretch of the imagination. And I think one thing with My Way, and it's the reason I fancy it as well, but we're in agreement here, is that it's had a recent run. I know presenting Present Man, I really cannot name that horse. Present Man has had a recent run, but that looks a hard, tough, fought-out battle, with extra weight on its back. It wasn't that long ago it won that race. Danny Whizbang obviously making his reappearance, may need the run as well. And there's a few in the race that may need this run. Just a Sting is another one who I think could probably need the run. And I'm with you. I know that we obviously often see it more so perhaps in the flat sphere with like a Ballydoyle and stuff like that. Well, you'll see O'Brien have first, second, and third string, and they'll win with the outsider of the three. It's not that often we see it in the national hunt world, but you know it's had a bit of market support as well. I think is it the jockey on board? Is it Brian Carver? You know, he's a more than capable jockey, and I think My Way, decent enough weight, had a recent success, should strip fitter for that. Things point towards a decent run. I think the thing is, Danny Whizbang, you can point towards success later in the year. Present Man is probably too high in the weight, and I actually don't see anything outside of the Nichols lot. You know, perhaps Champagne Court, but that was a pretty disappointing reappearance run, albeit this may be the target. So the thing as well, it's a young horse as well. My Way, you know, it's got that room to progress at the age of 6, and could potentially do better than its mark is at the moment. That's my selection. That's your selection. My Way in the 3:35 for the Badger Ales at Wincanton. So one of your selections away from the ITV stuff comes relatively early. What race is it, and what are you going for, bud?
Yeah, it's a 12:55 at Doncaster, and this would usually be the type of horse I would tell you to put in your notebook, and there are actually quite a lot of negatives with this horse, and the horse in question is Kinran. I think he's a pound above his last winning mark, which is a concern, and I often look at this horse and wonder about the handicapper and what he sees this horse doing, because he's not a prolific winner by any stretch of the imagination. He often runs to a high level of form, theoretically speaking, but the handicapper is very slow to give this horse any sort of leeway, and I'm just wondering today whether this is his best chance of winning a race in the obviously the near future at the end of the flat season, but I wonder if he'd struggle, you know, in the Lincoln next season, because he's going to be on a fairly high mark, and historically speaking, I would say the Lincoln is a race for group horses masquerading as handicappers, so unexposed types, William Haggis types, horses like that. And I think this is Kinran's best chance for a long while to get his head back in front. Yes, I would prefer his mark to be a little bit lower, and I can see mileage in him placing in the Lincoln if he was to underperform today. You would imagine the handicapper would relent, which would put him back on his last winning mark or below. So there is yardage to follow Kinran in a race like the Lincoln next season, but I think at around 11-2, I think he's an each way bet to nothing, especially with some bookmakers going a bit crazy and paying the first 5. He's run some mighty races at Doncaster in the past. The ground won't be a problem, and like I said, despite that mark being a concern, and despite the niggling doubt in the back of my mind that perhaps this is a run to get his mark down, and I still think there's yardage in backing him with a view to revisiting in, say, the Lincoln.
Yeah, he's been a bit underwhelming sort of this year. You'd expected to perhaps see a better run, and you kind of wonder whether or not Connections are kind of going to throw the kitchen sink at this to sort of save their season, potentially. I know that you like one at Aintree as well, so I'll let you crack on with that at Aintree whilst I have a look at 2. I know that I like the look at 2 at Naas, so I'll do you the courtesy of firing your Aintree selection over, and then we'll end our tips, because I know that we like one in the same race. Unfortunately, we go against each other. That is in the, I think it's a later one on the card at Donny. Yeah. So what I'll do, you fire your Aintree one at me. I'll prep the ones for Naas, and hopefully we'll find a few winners between us. So Aintree, obviously Merseyside, home of the National. Where's your money going there, bud?
Well, it comes in at 1 o'clock at Aintree, and this is a warm novices chase. North of the Wall, you would respect coming from a yard who have been firing recently. But I'm going to butcher the horse's name, but Curdenerf would be the one for me. Now, he was an impressive winner of his point before going to the yard of Evan Williams. He won over hurdles and ran some really nice races in pretty hot company, to be fair, last term. He's bred to be a chaser. He's all about a chaser. He looked a chaser last year. I know a lot of people become frustrated with pointing out a chasing type will be better over a fence. But this lad has always promised to come into his own once he got to the larger obstacles. And I would imagine this has been the plan for quite some time. He's been heavily backed. I mean, luckily enough for me, I managed to get on at more than double the price he's currently at. But, he has to beat the favourite, fair enough. But I just think that Evan Williams will have had this race in his mind for quite some time. And Curdeneuve, for me, I think will get off to a flyer.
Yeah, I think that one interesting stat as well is Brian Hughes doesn't often ride for Evan Williams. I think in the last 5 years they've only ever teamed up 8 times, but they've been able to produce 2 wins and 4 places. Clearly they get on as a trainer and jockey combo. Curdeneuve, course winner as well. I think that's a massive tick in a right box. I can't, I hate to jinx it, but I can't see an alternative really. North of the Wall, obviously the skeleton horse has to be respected, but I think you're onto a really solid thing there in the 1 o'clock entry. Obviously, I've alluded to a couple that I like at Naas. The sort of my bet of the day is in the Racing Post, my Racing Post nap today. It comes at Naas and it's in the final race of the day where I'm actually shocked to see the horse as odds against it. It's currently bigger than 2-1. It's around, I think it's around 9-4, 5-2. But Cannoli is the one for me. She can go one better than a recent second at Galway. Looks a pretty poor maiden race. Dermot Wells' charge wouldn't need to be anything special to take victory in this. The opposition looks relatively substandard. The fact that it is the price it is, I am absolutely shocked about. I expected it to be around no bigger than, say, 11-10. There was a massive part of me thought it'd be odds on. But Cannoli, looks by far the biggest chance, represents some big time connections as well. And it runs in I think it's the 4:10. Yeah, the 4:10 at Naas. It's the final race on the card. Should shake off its maiden tag. Dermot Wells' charge. Yeah, solid bet there. Actually might be a relatively big bet for me actually this afternoon. I'm just shocked at that price. Saying that though, whether or not I'm missing something glaring in the obvious that makes it that price, it'll probably come back and bite me on the arse probably. But yeah, that's the one for me. That's my sort of bet of the day at Naas, my nap. Earlier on the card, still at Naas over in Ireland, and I'm siding with a former course victor who looks absolutely massive price-wise at 25-1. McCarlad has been absolutely woeful this season. Form figures that look like a telephone number, but it's now £3 lower than its last winning mark. His form here at Naas is really, really good. It's 3 wins, 2 placed efforts from just 6 course starts. Obviously, if the old phrase sort of horses for courses means absolutely anything, then he's an absolute staggering price at 25-1. He loves it here at Naas. He returns to Naas on a lower winning mark, 25-1. Massively overlooked. It's probably because of how poor his recent form is, but if he's anything like his best, especially here at Naas, 25-1 is going to look like an absolute steal. Now, those are my 2. We've both obviously alluded to the fact that we both like one in the 3:45 at Donny. It's a 7-furlong handicap for amateur riders. I will let you go first with your loser, and then I'll tell everyone the winner. All right?
Yeah, it's really difficult, this, because as a general rule, I've already spoken about liking repeat offenders at Doncaster, and Get Knotted, very well handicapped nowadays, £4, I believe, below his last winning mark. He ran really well last week at Newmarket without really threatening to win. But this appears to be a race where there's going to be plenty of pace on the likes of Flying Pursuit. I hope to God that he bangs out and gives the rest of them something to follow. I actually hope there's a big battle on up front, because Get Knotted will be running on towards the end. It's just whether, the jockey's going to have to be alive for a start, but it's just whether he actually likes this track. He has run some good races here. I would prefer it to be somewhere like York, obviously, a track he has won at a few times. But given he's so well handicapped, and given that they keep sending him out, it almost suggests to you that a win for him is just around the corner, and this is going to be probably his last chance. So get knotted, well handicapped. I'm hoping to God the jockeys. I mean, perhaps another query would be Doncaster can often suit horses that are up with the pace, but I can see a pace battle here, so I'm hoping it collapses, and I'd be shocked if he wasn't good enough to get a place. I'd be disappointed. And Michael Dawes has been in good form, so a lot of things point to a big run. 10 to 1's too big. Yeah,
I'm a massive fan of Get Knotted myself. You know, a bit of a handicap veteran now that you love to see horses like that win. And he's more than capable in an apprentice handicap like this. It's perhaps a little bit beneath, well, it is a lot beneath his best, you know. That being said, we obviously already touched upon how important course form is, and I'm siding with the course and distance winner. The sort of the breakout apprentice of the year that's got all the plaudits and all of the cameras and the spotlight, probably more so because of his dad. But that probably, you don't want to take away any of his credit really, is Kieran Fallon, sort of junior. And he climbs aboard course and distance winner Presidential, the aptly named horse considering what's going off in the States. Like I said, we've already touched upon how much importance good course form is here at Donny. The 6-year-old has 2 wins, 2 placed efforts from 6 course starts. Disappointing last time out, but now back to his last winning mark. I'll take a slice of the current 18 to 1 on offer, and each way play in what looks a really open race. Those are our 6 selections. Away from what we like the look of, I have asked people of the PFTP community on Facebook and Twitter to let us know what they like the look of. The first one comes from Ian Hunt, and he likes Imperium Blue. That runs in the 11:50, so less than half an hour away. So you have to be quick if you want to get on that. Robert Bettany's actually fired a treble. He likes Sam Cook. So I apologise, Rob. We've put the mockers on that. But he also likes Chittabello at Aintree. And then obviously it's the Breeders' Cup tonight. And he likes Kamiko. We think Kamiko will be up near the pace, and that should sort of aid his chances. Matt Masters is another that likes Chittabello in the 240 at Aintree. Says always runs a decent race here. And James Emsley thinks that Jukebox in the 2 o'clock at Nace and Benny in Milan in the 325 at Kelso. It is each way double of the day. Good luck, guys, obviously, with your selections. Hope they come up for you. As always, I've been Rory Paddock. He's been Chris Connolly. Any likes, comments and shares, always welcome. And, before I go, make sure you visit picksfromthepaddock.co.uk because Dean Kilbryde, who gave 2 winners at the Breeders' Cup last night, has gone through every single race. I love you too, Chris. Every single race at the Breeders' Cup tonight. So make sure you check that out. Don't miss out on a winner. But as always, good luck if you follow.